I was 12 years old when my parents told me I was a burden. Not in those exact words, of course. They were too polite for that. But the meaning was clear as day. I remember standing in our kitchen, sunlight streaming through the window, watching my mother's lips move as she explained that I was being sent to live with my Uncle Marcus. My father stood beside her, arms crossed, not meeting my eyes. And I remember thinking, this is it. This is the moment everything changes. They didn't say I was a burden because I was difficult or rebellious. I wasn't a troubled kid. I was quiet, obedient, maybe even too eager to please. No. The reason they gave me away was worse. They said I wasn't smart enough. Those words still echo in my mind after all these years. You see, I'd been struggling in school. Not badly, but enough that I wasn't the straight-A student they'd hoped for. My older brother was brilliant, naturally gifted, the kind of kid who made everything look easy. And then there was me. I studied hard. I really did. But my grades were average. Average. Like that was some kind of disease. My parents had always dreamed of having the perfect family, the kind you see in magazines, a son destined for Harvard, and a daughter who, well, apparently didn't fit the picture. So when the opportunity came for me to stay with Uncle Marcus, they saw it as a solution, not to help me, but to remove the problem. I'll never forget the car ride to his house. My mother had packed a suitcase for me, just one. She'd carefully selected only the essentials, as if I was going away for a weekend, not my entire childhood. I sat in the back seat, watching our house get smaller and smaller in the rearview mirror. My father didn't speak. My mother kept adjusting the air conditioning. Anything to avoid the silence. When we arrived at Uncle Marcus's home, I saw him standing on the porch. He was younger than my father, maybe in his early 40s, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. He didn't know the real reason I was coming. My parents told him I needed a fresh start, needed someone to give me more attention. They made it sound noble. They made it sound like love. But I knew the truth. I knew I was being abandoned because I wasn't good enough, because my grades weren't impressive enough, because somewhere in their hearts, I didn't measure up to the fantasy they'd created. As my parents drove away that day, I stood alone on that porch, a 12-year-old girl with a single suitcase and a broken heart. I had no idea what my future held. I had no idea that this moment, this heartbreak, this rejection would become the foundation of everything I would become. I had no idea that one day I would be the one holding all the power. Uncle Marcus was different from my parents. He wasn't cold or calculated. He was genuinely kind. He made sure I had everything I needed, helped me with my homework, and never once made me feel like a failure. But that kindness only made the pain deeper, because every night I would cry into my pillow, wondering why my own parents hadn't fought for me, why they'd let me go so easily. The first few years with Uncle Marcus were about survival, honestly. I was angry, not at him, but at the world, at my parents, at myself. I started therapy at 14, and that's when things began to shift. My therapist helped me realize something crucial. My parents' inability to see my worth said nothing about my actual value. It said everything about their limitations, their expectations, their fears. So I stopped trying to be someone else. I stopped chasing grades to prove myself. And something magical happened. I finally started living for me. I discovered that I was creative. I loved writing, psychology, understanding people. I was good at things that didn't show up on a report card. I was good at being human. I was empathetic, resilient, and stronger than I'd ever imagined. Uncle Marcus saw it too. He encouraged me, supported me, believed in me in ways my parents never had. By the time I was 16, I'd built a new identity. I wasn't the stupid daughter anymore. I was becoming someone remarkable, not because of perfection, but because of authenticity. But here's where the story gets complicated. When I turned 18, my parents suddenly wanted me back. My brother had gotten into a prestigious university, and they wanted the picture-perfect family photo for his graduation party. They called Uncle Marcus, asked if I could come home just for the weekend. When I arrived, they acted like nothing had ever happened, like 6 years hadn't passed, like they hadn't abandoned me. My mother hugged me and said, "We missed you so much, sweetheart." I just stared at her. I didn't recognize this woman anymore. At the dinner table, my father asked about my life, my dreams, like we were a normal family. And I realized something profound. They had no idea who I was. They had no idea what they'd missed. They had no idea that the girl they'd given away had become someone extraordinary. That's when I made a decision. I was going to let them keep thinking I'd wasted away in Uncle Marcus's house. I was going to let them believe they'd made the right choice. But I was also going to show them, slowly and carefully, exactly what they'd lost. Not through cruelty, but through success. Over the next 5 years, I transformed my life in ways my parents never expected. I went to university, not because I had to prove something anymore, but because I wanted to. I studied psychology and communications, got excellent grades, and graduated with honors. I built a career helping young people who'd experienced abandonment and trauma, just like I had. I became a therapist, then a mentor, then an author. I built a life that was genuinely mine. And my parents watched it all unfold on social media. They saw my university achievements, my job promotions, my published articles about emotional resilience. They watched as I became a voice for thousands of people who'd felt rejected and undervalued. They realized, slowly and painfully, exactly what they'd thrown away. My mother reached out first. She called me on my 25th birthday and cried on the phone. She apologized, genuinely, deeply apologized. She admitted that she and my father had been wrong, that they'd been afraid, insecure, and had projected those fears onto me. She told me that watching my success made her realize what kind of woman she'd raised. My father took longer, but eventually he came to one of my speaking engagements, sat in the back of the room, and when I spoke about forgiveness and breaking generational trauma, I saw him crying. Here's the thing about revenge. The best kind isn't about destroying someone. It's about building something so magnificent that they have no choice but to see their mistake. It's about becoming so genuinely happy, so authentically successful, that their rejection becomes their greatest regret. I forgave my parents. Not because they deserved it, but because I deserved to be free from the weight of their choices. I maintained a relationship with Uncle Marcus. He was my real family, the one who chose me when my own blood didn't. My parents and I, we built something new. Not quite close, but honest. They know now that they were wrong. And I know that their rejection was the best gift they ever gave me, because it taught me that my worth was never dependent on their approval. If you're watching this and you've been told you're not good enough, let me say this clearly. Whoever said that was wrong. Your value isn't measured by grades or achievements or how well you fit someone else's dream. You are enough. You are extraordinary, and your life is going to prove that to everyone who ever doubted you. That's a promise.